Hello humanoids! My name is Emma Luminescence. I'm here to teach you how to make life stars. I bet you're like, what is that? It's a crazy creation that I came up with in 2020. I started getting into resin pouring and resin casting, and I always had this idea of taking different elements from nature, like kind of like foundational elements, and combining them all together to encapsulate the feeling of a place or a thing or a person or theme. So today we're going to be making a life star. Life stars are made in half sphere molds, and I don't know, before I did this I had no idea exactly what life star I wanted to do. When I was moving things around, I saw this wire and this like pretty like blue, like cyan, like blue wire, and it really made me think. So basically what I want to do is like this color blue with some pinks, like some pink colors, like I have pink shells, and then some green. First thing we need to think about is there's foundations to making a life star. I devised this like, oh my gosh, it's almost like a recipe. The foundation of a life star is acrylic paint strips, copper or metal and or shells, bark, dried flowers, and then usually I'll add like an item of significance, and like all of these items are significant, that you know they hold like feeling and an aesthetic because they come from earth. You know, you go out in nature, it's calming and it's healing for people. So my idea was to take it back here and be able to encapsulate that feeling into something you can hold in your hand, and also having it be a half sphere. I feel like that symbolizes the earth in itself, because the earth is like a sphere and the planets are spheres, and the life kind of like grows up out of this sphere. So the other thing I'm going to be making for these life stars is these copper sprongs. I'm hoping that you can see them quite well, but and I'll be like adding photos too. These sprongs, I almost see them as kind of like they create like a vibration. Like when I do this, I can literally feel it like vibrating through the star. Also, this one that I'm holding in my hand is like the first life star that I've ever, like, it was like from the first batch ever. And I really just love all this like hairy like moss. Ooh, it just came up. The hairy moss and stuff. And then the other thing I would say to keep in mind with the life stars is that they do sometimes get dusty after you make them, so you need to go in and like clean them a little. But anyways, let's jump in. And you know, I'm looking at all this. I think it will fit in here, but if it doesn't, we might not use all of this stuff that I've collected. I have this spiral, which is what I've been making a lot of. So we're just gonna unravel as much wire as we can, because I honestly, I kind of want to make this like a taller thing for our first life star on here that we do together. So the first thing that I've done to make my spiral is I have created a tiny loop with my pliers. And I did that just by holding my pliers in place here and then twisting that wire around. And I've begun this spiral. Next thing to do is just to continue and make it as big as we can. Okay, so now that we have put together our different aspects for our life star, we are ready to pour. So I have just brought down all my art resin. What I have here in front of me is I brought 3 cups. The epoxy resin is a 2-part system, so we have to pour equal parts of each component, the hardener and the epoxy. And then the 3rd cup is what we pour into. I brought my little spatula thing. I used to use spoons to stir. The spoons would like just break sometimes, and I was really tired of just buying a bunch of plastic spoons. So I bought this. It's like a cooking utensil, like a little stir thing. It works great. I can just like pull the resin off of it after it's done, after it's dried. I got my little half sphere mold, which I will link. I'll link all of these items in the description. Also, when you're pouring resin, you're gonna want to use a respirator. It's really important because it kicks off fumes and it will mess you up. Yeah, so PPE baby, it's good. All right, so and last thing, I have my heat gun. This is a hardcore heat gun. I've broken heat guns. This is a good one. Wagner heat gun that I got from Home Depot. Okay, so let's get into it. So now that we have ingredients for our Life Star arranged, we're gonna let it sit overnight, 24 hours, and then tomorrow we'll pop them out and see how it turns out. Thank you for coming along the ride for this first Life Star. Okay, so we let our Life Star sit 24 hours. Now it's time to unwrap it. So let's see how it turns out.